Nielsen and Elaine. Roger, do you want to get into some of these 81 major Trump achievements, or do you want to go right to the callers?
Let's go through a couple of the achievements, Rob, because it really is extraordinary when you consider the opposition that the president has faced from not only the leadership of both parties, but from the mainstream media, that he's been able to achieve as much as he has with this implacable opposition is really extraordinary. It's historic.
It is. He's in a foxhole with people that don't like him and don't want him. He's fighting an enemy that wants to kill him. And meanwhile, the media is covering it, basically saying Trump is the bad guy and everybody should be jumping in the foxhole to bayonet him. But here we go. Jobs and economy. There's 12 categories here, 81 wins as cited by the White House. Passage of the tax reform bill providing $5.5 billion in cuts and repealing the Obamacare mandate, which, if you listen to people like Bernie Sanders, who we have a clip of that. This is an article from Jamie White. Bernie Sanders admits Trump tax cuts for 91% of the middle class a very good thing. And then he goes on to bitch about among other things, saying 13 million people are going to lose their health insurance. No, they're going to stop paying for overpriced health insurance. That's where he's wrong, okay? Because they're being forced to give their money to insurance companies. It has nothing to do with health care. It's about health insurance. Obamacare is nothing but a health insurance bailout, and that's what he doesn't want to admit. Next one, increase of GDP above 3%. Creation of 1.7 million new jobs, cutting unemployment to 4.1%. I don't know if I agree with that unemployment number. We've been saying that the unemployment number is a lot higher. It's just the way they report it. But Trump is just going by the way they report. The jobs people report the news or report those numbers. And saw the Dow Jones reach record highs. Any of those you want to comment on, Roger?
No, it's really extraordinary. The importance of getting the tax rate below that of Mexico, that of Canada, that of China, that of Japan was crucial. Now, it's unfortunate that the president's tax cut proposal did get larded up with some of these Christmas tree provisions for Wall Street. And I happen to know for an absolute fact that the president tried valiantly to end the carried interest benefits for hedge fund operators at the last minute, was not able to pull this off, but did stage a valiant effort to do so. I really think that economists like Larry Kudlow from CNBC and Steve Moore from the Heritage Foundation are absolutely right. This tax cut could turbocharge the economy, and you could see some of the greatest peacetime expansion in our history. This would make the president unbeatable if he chooses to run again in 2020. And of course, we will be begging him to do so. The real concern I have, though, is whether those congressional Republicans, having now larded up the tax cut with some of the provisions that they favored for their Wall Street buddies, will now betray the president because they no longer need him. This is a very legitimate concern and something we at InfoWars will be watching and reporting on very carefully.
Yeah, and I want to go to part of Bernie's interview, but we'll go to it next segment, where he says, oh, well, these tax cuts are only for 10 years, and then they're going to start going back up, and they're going to pay more taxes. We could be in a whole different ballgame in 10 years, Bernie. At least he got tax cuts through, and this is something that the American people need, and this is something the American people have been asking for. But he doesn't want to talk about that. He just wants to look at the negative, and then the whole fable about 13 million people losing their insurance. But let's go to a caller. Let's go to Dennis in Canada, Ontario, Canada, wants to talk about signs of war with North Korea, which will be a big topic of today's show.
How's it going, guys?
Hey, doing great.
Hey, before I start off talking about North and South Korea, I wanted to talk about Roger Stone's book. Roger Stone, as you know, you released your book, was it about a year ago, Making of the President 2016?
That's about right, yes.
About a year now? Yeah.
About a year ago, yes.
To whoever hasn't gotten it, and I would have recommended it as a Christmas gift, it's absolutely great. I got it about a year ago, and I just want to remind people that if you want to support the InfoWar, this is actually a really nice book, Roger. I got to say, And I've tried to call you before, but I never get the chance to because of school and all that. But I really wanted to comment on your book first. Like, a lot of good content, talks about the 2000 Trump candidacy. And it also has some very nice photographs that you wouldn't otherwise see, some exclusive photographs. And I wanted to just say, great book, and highly recommend it to anyone. Anyways, I wanted to talk about...
That's very kind. I appreciate that very much. I'm very proud of this book because I put it together between the Republican National Convention in Cleveland and Election Day. You can get it today at the InfoWars store at a great price. It's $19.95. And as I said about a week ago, if they succeed in taking down our president through some illegitimate coup d'etat, I would be forced to write a book entitled The Unmaking of the President. But that is not my plan. That is not my intention. In fact, I think the president will outwit the deep staters that seek to end his presidency. But I appreciate your strong endorsement of the book, and I urge folks who want the inside story about how Donald Trump pulled off the greatest upset in American political history to go to the InfoWars site now and get your copy of The Making of the President 2016.
All right, Dennis, you got 30 seconds. I gotta jump in here before we go to break. Go ahead. What's your question about North Korea?
Yeah, sorry. I wanted to ask you guys what you thought about the possibilities of chemical weapons, and if you think that if there is some sort of strike against North Korea.
To talk about whether North Korea is going to use chemical weapons. This just came out today from USA Today. Anthrax antibodies and defector raise fears North Korea is developing chemical weapons. They've already mentioned they want to launch a missile with anthrax in it, and a lot of people thought that was just talk. But now we have the article of that. I guess they've done tests on the latest defector running across the demilitarized zone, the DMZ.
Well, Rob, I think this speaks in a certain sense to the character of Donald Trump. This guy is not Barack Obama. Donald Trump is not a man who will draw a line in the sand and watch our adversaries cross it. He is not made of sugar candy. This is the single toughest human being that perhaps I've ever met. Now, I'm speaking as someone who worked for Richard Nixon, worked for Ronald Reagan, worked for Senator Bob Dole, all of whom I consider to be great Americans. But Donald Trump is a very tough individual, and he has an extraordinary, resolve. And he's not going to be pushed around by this little punk in North Korea. Now, I know that the striped pants set in Foggy Bottom is urging him to play out the diplomacy and so on, and he'll do so. But I'd say this. One more nuclear test by the North Koreans, and I think his patience will have been exhausted. And he will do something historic, something that hasn't been done since perhaps the days of President Harry Truman. But our adversaries need to understand this is no Barack Obama we're talking about. This is not somebody who is afraid to utilize American power. And therefore, I really think the North Koreans are pushing their luck.
I definitely think they're pushing their luck. And I don't want to see a war because that people are going to die in that, and that's going to be real lives lost all across the board. North Koreans, South Koreans, American lives. It's not going to be a cakewalk, even though we do have an overwhelming superiority against North Korea. But anything could happen that would bring China or Russia into this. And that would not be good. That could, everybody say, that would be a start of World War III, starting something in North Korea. So I don't want to see that. I want to play a little bit of this clip, Roger, of Bernie Sanders bitching about the tax cuts, just trying to find any way. Notice how he doesn't have a tax plan, though. Bernie Sanders' tax plan is just increasing taxes on everybody and pretending it's a middle-class tax cut when he would just increase the richest taxes but he thinks the rich is anybody making over $100,000 a year. So that would be Bernie Sanders' tax cut plan, and free college for all, so college becomes worthless, and then free Medicaid for everybody who wants it, just opening up the floodgates for the entitlement class. But here's Bernie Sanders bitching about the Trump's tax cut on CNN.
I understand you're not a fan of the tax bill. You don't like the large corporate tax cut, and you're not happy with the tax cuts for the wealthy. But according to the Tax Policy Center, next year, 91% of middle-income Americans will receive a tax cut. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, it is a very good thing, and that's why we should have made the tax breaks for the middle class permanent.
Hey everybody! I just wanted to break in real quick for an Operation HAL Info Warrior update. Many of you thousands of Operation HAL subscribers are passionate patriots. We can tell because of the comments that you leave in the comment section. But America needs more than just passionate comments from anonymous subscribers. America needs info warriors who are willing to spread information. Believe it or not, us patriots, we are beginning to win the info war. We are on the march and the enemy is on the run. They never anticipated this explosion of social media. The bad guys who are behind the scenes attempting to destroy our republic, they didn't realize that platforms like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook would give voice to those of us who haven't been fooled by the fake news, Project Mockingbird, CIA-ran media. Patriots like you and me now have a level playing field to take part in the war for the soul of our nation. And the good news is, we don't even have to use guns. We can simply use our home computers and laptops, just like I'm doing right now. In fact, the Operation HAL YouTube channel has reached over 73,000 unique individuals just this month. So if you want to get off of the sideline and onto that playing field, we at Operation HAL want to help. We have helped over 18,000 individuals just like you learn how to create and distribute content online. It doesn't matter if you're a novice with computers or a pro. Operation HAL is willing to train you for free in our simple techniques that will allow you to have a voice in our nation. So if you're interested in our free online trainings, you can email me, Mackenzie, at operationhal@gmail.com. Send me a brief description of why you want to join the info war. And make sure you put in the subject line, I want to be an info warrior. As soon as we get your email, we will contact you back with further instructions. We look forward to hearing from you soon.
If you're interested to learn how to create content and spread content, we'll show you how. Go to the Operation HAL YouTube channel, click on the About button, and then click Message. Send us an email. If you want to engage, become an info warrior, we will train you up.
If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon below the video to get notified when the latest new content drops.
Keep us in your prayers. We get a lot of resistance for putting these videos out, but to Yahweh be the glory.